These are some pretty sizable boulders now we're dragging this thing over. Here we go. Oh God, just grind it till you make it. It's kind of the Rubicon mantra here. Today I'm out here at the Rubicon Trail in the Sierra Nevadas of California, and we're gonna find out, can a bone stock Jeep Wrangler Rubicon actually complete the Rubicon Trail, and what the heck is it like? Jeep Wrangler on the trail it's named after, there's only one thing for it. Oh yeah, time to pop the top. Now, if you are an off-road enthusiast, this is a bucket list moment, being able to drive the Rubicon in a bone stock, brand new Rubicon that probably costs, I'd say this 4xe with the Extreme Recon, all the luxury stuff, we're probably looking at somewhere around $80,000. It's a lot of money to be taken down this trail, and you're about to see why. You spend more time on skid plates on this trail than on rubber itself, and that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not as much as you'd expect. I like to tell people there's two things you need on the Rubicon, or actually pick one of two: big tires or great underbody protection, and ideally both. Now, the Jeep we're driving today is the 4xe. This is a plug-in hybrid Jeep. It's got a 2-liter turbocharged engine up front. It has a 17 kilowatt-hour battery underneath the rear seat, and then it's got an electric motor sandwiched between the gas engine and the transmission. Now, you can go about 20-25 miles on a single charge. Right now, we're juiced up to only about 18% state of charge, but I am running it on full electricity. And one of the cool things about the 4xe is you can run the Rubicon Trail in low range with lockers, front, back, sway bar, disconnect, all of it in electricity, which is pretty cool. The bad part about running it in electricity, as we're about to find out, is it is incredibly herky-jerky. It is very difficult to modulate this vehicle in the electric mode. You can kind of sort of 2-foot it, but it takes a lot of practice to get through the larger obstacles smoothly. Now, this section of trail is very cool. We're cruising along down this hill, and it's just a boulder field, and it looks like a video game. Honestly, when you're here in person, these boulders make the Jeeps look small. It makes it look like you're playing with Matchbox toys, navigating through little chunks of crayon. It is such a cool thing to see in person, and I hope you can kind of see what I'm seeing on camera, and that, you know, you wouldn't believe that a stock vehicle would be able to do this. Because when you come out here to the Rubicon Trail, especially on a day like today, when we're out here with the Jeep Jamboree guys, you see a lot of rock buggies. You see a lot of tube vehicles on 37s and 40s and 44-inch tall tires. I don't think we've passed a single other stock vehicle, and this is basically a showroom stock vehicle. It does have the Extreme Recon package. As such, it's got the 35-inch tall tires, and then this one's got some accessories, right? It's got like the beadlock wheels, it's got the spare tire carrier out back, but this is exactly how you could finance this vehicle right off the showroom floor. And look at what we're doing now. We're about to kiss some skid plates, even on 35s, just like that. But the great thing about Wranglers is that once you are comfortable doing that once, you can do it all day long, and they just take it. They'll just keep coming back for more. The Rubicon Trail is 22 miles of scraping outside of Lake Tahoe, California. Now, it's famous for a bunch of reasons. Of course, probably the most iconic being that its name is plastered on the side of the most capable Wranglers, and has been now for over 2 decades, starting with the TJ Wrangler back in the early 2000s. Now, this trail is a kind of a beast. It's a long couple of days. However, Jeep has made it very bougie for us journalists, actually flying us into an area here called Buck Island partway through the trail, where there's a lot of great terrain. And let's kind of talk about what the terrain is really like and whether or not you can do it in your rig. It's kind of like Moab slick rock. You've got these huge rock formations that you kind of wind your way through with these Wranglers. There's a lot of heavy articulated sections, but there's also a lot of bouldering. So it's mostly this really firm slick rock, but then you also get chunks of these very loose boulders that are extremely unforgiving. This is definitely very much a ground clearance and articulation part of the trail. So the thing about these Rubicons is they sound pretty miserable going over these rocks. And what I mean by that is it does genuinely sound like the Titanic is going down. They bang and they clatter and they grind on the skid plates. But the reality is that these vehicles are built from the factory to be able to handle this terrain. And unlike some vehicles where you might be able to rub the skid plates once, twice, 3 times before, you know, things are going to be a little structurally compromised, in these Wranglers, you can do it all day. And they just take it. I mean, we've been out on this trail for 8 hours and we've hit pretty much every aspect underneath this vehicle. And it just keeps coming back for more.
It's gonna start dropping down and we'll sleep a little bit.
Yep, sounds good. Try to keep it off the rocks here. Come on. There we go. Nice and slow off this ledge. There we go. Make sure we keep the quarter panel off of what we're trying to keep the quarter panel off of. There we go. Now, other nice thing about these Jeeps is that, look, there's parts today where you're just going to end up rubbing fender flares. And the Jeep will take it, which is one of the coolest things about this vehicle is that, first of all, a lot of these have the unpainted fender flares. And even if you do scratch a fender flare, that's a pretty easy thing to be able to replace, which is nice. More than anything, I think it's impressive what these tires can take. I mean, we are fully grinding the sidewalls of these tires up against these boulders, and they just hold up. I do think that Jeep should look into putting the KO3s on the Rubicon. I think that would be a really nice addition. But KO2 is still a great tire. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Let's see if we got the departure angle here, just nice and slow. Oh! I do think that what we're doing out here is a little bit unusual. I mean, I don't think I've seen a Jeep out here post 2017. So most of the rigs out here are like YJs, TJs that are heavily built out. But Jeep says that if a vehicle has a Rubicon badge on the side of it, it has to be able to complete the Rubicon. And we're finding that out right now. I really want to talk about this powertrain because the best part about the 4xe, in my opinion, were/are the lease deals out there. You can pick these up for a deal compared to the gasoline versions thanks to the federal tax credit, which is going away. But from an off-road standpoint, I do not love how this vehicle performs, especially in this bouldering situation. This skinny pedal is very much an on and off switch. It's incredibly difficult to modulate this thing smoothly. And because you're not really riding on a conventional torque converter, it's very hard to 2-foot it. And so it's really hard to keep it smooth. Oh, that's the wheel grinding. This is where you're glad that this is not your Jeep. I'm not sure I want to take my personal Rubicon out here if I just pulled it off the showroom floor. Climb, baby! Onto the skid plate. There we go! I don't know if you can see this on camera. Thank you, sir. But
There you go. There you go.
these are some pretty...
Keep that turn a little bit longer, now straighten it out. There you go.
Thank you, sir. These are some pretty sizable boulders now. We're dragging this thing over. Here we go. Oh God, just grind it till you make it. It's kind of the Rubicon mantra here. This is some seriously tough obstacles for these vehicles. Now, the thing about these Wranglers too is, you know, you might think, oh, this would be better in a two-door. And we actually do have a two-door Wrangler out on the trail with us today, and I'm not sure it's actually better, because on these really tight technical areas, certainly you get shorter wheelbase, helps you steer, and it also helps with breakover. But on some of the tougher, steeper climbs, the two-door does have a tendency to get a little bit tippy, and in some cases it's nice to have that longer wheelbase. Plus, because I am an 80-year-old man, from the ride quality standpoint, the four-door is just so much more comfortable, so much more refined. This is actually a really nice riding vehicle. And people will ask you, like, you know, why is the Wrangler so compromised on the road? The reason it's so compromised on the road is because this suspension is designed for what we're doing today. The solid axle, the ability to keep both tires planted firmly on the ground with that sway bar disconnected, is exactly what you want out on the trail. But the downside of that is when you're on the road, you hit a bump with your left tire, your right tire is going to be affected by that, and you get kind of that little solid front axle jitter. Same thing with the rear end. Recirculating ball steering, right? It's slow, it's unprecise on the road, but off-road, you can get really precise movements out of the front tires without, you know, affecting your fingers and getting it stuck in the steering wheel and getting a lot of snapback. So it's a really smooth and actually precise off-road steering system, even though it is awful on the road. So it's a really interesting, you know, discussion and dichotomy comparing, you know, the spectrum of off-road capability versus on-road drivability. All right, so one of the trail leaders just gave me a tip. He said, turn the regen off with this 4xe and then turn off-road plus on. He said that's gonna help desensitize that throttle input a little bit. So I've gone ahead and done that. And I have to say, it is a little better. It's not totally transformed, but it's definitely a little smoother, makes it less of an on and off switch. So I'm really glad that he gave me that tip. I really appreciate that. So Emmy is probably the most respected off-road journalist I know.
Not true. It's so not true. I'm an idiot.
It's 100% true, and she's got the coolest Miata the world has ever seen, because it's got huge, big-ass off-road tires on it.
29-inch tires, and here we're on 35, so that just shows you.
So Emmy, what do you think of the Rubicon Trail?
So here's the thing, I don't do a lot of rock crawling, so when I come out here, I'm like, this is all new, and the idea of like being like as slow as possible, as fast as necessary, because most of my off-wheeling has been in two-wheel drive, where it's just like, send it, right? Because you have to. So here, letting the vehicle do the work for you, that's what's pretty amazing, is that the truck will always do it. You can relax a little bit.
Now, if you had a brand new $80,000 Wrangler, would you take it out here?
Oh my God, of course, because that's what it's meant to do. Don't make it a pavement princess. Don't make it a mall crawler. Like, it's supposed to be out here, even in its stock form, it can do it. So don't be afraid of messing up your Jeep. If you've got pinstripes, those are pinstripes of honor.
So Emmy is way braver than I am, because, dude, I would not bring in my brand new Wrangler out here.
Why not? This is what it's made for. Are we not doing it in a brand new stock Wrangler?
Yes, but
Have we broken anything?
No, but this is the best kind of Wrangler to do it in, is somebody else's.
Well, that's true. It is nice to do it in somebody else's, because if you do break something, it's not on you. And also, we've got all the Jeep Jamboree guys who are showing us the best line. Like, if I was out here on my own, I'd be like, oh, that looks good. And I better get in a lot more trouble than we have today.
An interesting aspect of this trail, which I really appreciate about it, is there's not a lot on this trail that's going to put you into physical harm. So there's not a lot of areas where you're really going to risk a rollover. There's no real shelf roads. There's a lot of areas where, of course, you could rip something off the bottom of your car or damage your car, but from a safety standpoint, it actually feels like a relatively safe route, which a lot of Colorado off-road trails are the opposite of that, where they're not challenging for the vehicle, but they're incredibly dangerous if you do mess it up. And what's nice about this is it's a real challenge for the vehicle, but you're not going to hurt yourself. So what's really cool about the Rubicon Trail is because it's an actual county road, and especially during the Jeep Jamboree, when you've got a couple hundred of Jeepers out here, you actually will run into sheriffs in their own lifted, kitted out Wranglers. I was talking to one of them, they have 3 of them. One of them has 40,000 miles on it. 40,000 Rubicon miles, still cranking along, and that's a pretty crazy number, isn't it? So are there other stock vehicles that can handle the Rubicon? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know when GM was doing some of their development testing on their off-road trucks, they came out here. Ford has come out here, of course, with the Bronco. So there are other vehicles that'll tackle the Rubicon. But the thing, and I'm not wed to solid front axles, but the thing about solid front axles is when they are in their element, there is nothing better. And yeah, we can go into the physics of it, but they just feel right. They have such a satisfying reaction to the surface underneath the tires, and it's just an almost indescribable feeling wheeling a vehicle with a solid front axle. And yeah, I know you can absolutely do it with independent front suspension, but a sway bar disconnected solid front axle off-road, oh, it just scratches something deep inside my head, which is pretty indescribable. For as much flack as people give the Wrangler for the on-road ride quality, the off-road ride quality, I'm only aired down right now to 21, 22 PSI, is so good. This thing is so comfortable off-road. It's actually more comfortable in my opinion than even an aired down Bronco or 4Runner, which is much better on the road. But off-road, a sway bar disconnected Wrangler is kind of butter. It really is. And the other thing I really like about off-roading these Wranglers, that even if you get an extreme recon one like this one with the 35, which kind of spaces it out a little bit, it still is a narrow-ish vehicle, especially compared to like a full-on Sasquatch Bronco or Jesus Bronco Raptor. That thing is a beast, and you just have such fewer line options when you're trying to navigate in between trees and boulders and that kind of thing. And that is one of the most underrated features of the Wrangler, is that it actually has a very narrow body. So it does have some flares, but the body's narrow, which helps keep it off of trees, helps keep your paint looking good. And then the whole vehicle is just relatively narrow in general, which really allows you to navigate some better lines than you typically would be able to. So all right, now we're crossing over Rubicon Springs itself on this really narrow little bridge. That's pretty cool. Sorry, Rubicon River, I should say. We're entering Rubicon Springs here. Boom, down off the bridge. And the vehicle is still more or less in one piece. Now we got to the trail, I don't know, about 10 maybe we started. It's now 3:15 and we've gone 2 miles. So you do the math. 5 hours of driving to go about 2 miles. Now granted, we're going pretty slow, we are in a group, but if you are in a hurry, I'm not sure the Rubicon is for you. But I mean, it's very impressive what a stock Jeep Wrangler can do off-road, and I don't think that people understand the full capability of the vehicle without doing something like this. People are so quick to go right into lifts and big tires and steel bumpers, and then they start adding all this weight to the vehicle, and then you got the roof racks and you got more armor underneath. And this vehicle doesn't have any of that. It's just got the Extreme Recon setup, it's got the winch from the factory, and it's got some off-road lights from Mopar, but it did it with ease, right? And I mean, I know that obviously people are modifying their vehicles more to have them look cool than to really, you know, warrant the necessity to do what they're trying to do off-road. But go buy a stock Wrangler, okay? And then start really wheeling it. And just trust me that the underbody will take it. And you are gonna be shocked at where even a bone stock Wrangler without the Extreme Recon can go, because we've done this trail without the Extreme Recon and it can still do it. And the engineers told me that they've done this trail in sport Wranglers with tires and it will still do it. So it's very cool to experience what these things are capable of. Now this is one of the most iconic parts of the Rubicon Trail. This is called the Big Sluice. So basically you navigate your way up to the top of this little mountain with a bunch of, you know, pretty challenging obstacles here and there. And then the Big Sluice is this steep 1,000-foot down, which is basically just a boulder field. So you really want someone like the Jeep Jamboree guys here that know what they're doing if you're running new Jeeps, and you don't want to get into trouble, or maybe you buy an old Toyota and say, who cares? But really, this is an awesome part of the trail. It's very, very technical, it's very, very slow. There's also a ton of different things you can play on here because it's pretty wide. This is the part of the trail where you should be really happy that these Jeeps have 35-inch tall tires. You know, on 33s, I've done it before, but it's a lot of grinding. You kind of just skate your way down on skid plates and on rock rails. If you want to find out more about the Rubicon Trail or hundreds of other trails all around the country, check out Onyx Off-Road, the #1 trail navigation software on the internet. So there's a couple other things that I'm not a huge fan of with this Wrangler. First of all, and I'm going to harp on them again, and I've talked about it over and over, but it's 2025. We gotta be able to design a better seat that's more comfortable than a park bench. And yes, the refresh of the Wrangler did give us power seats, which is great. I think that was a nice addition, especially at this price point, but they are still pretty shapeless and just not very comfortable. And then the locker selection is also a little bit of a miss and a letdown. You got this little toggle down here, you can cycle rear or then front and rear, but it still is kind of slow and cumbersome to engage. Same thing with the sway bar disconnect, and what Toyota has proven with their sway bar disconnect and what Ford and other manufacturers, like even GM, has proven with their lockers, is you can make them much more snappy, and the cheap lockers are just a little slow to engage. And then of course is the price point, right? We're wheeling essentially a $75,000, $80,000 rig out here. It's just, it can do it, but no one is going to do it until like the 7th owner and 100,000 miles, because it's just too much money to really comfortably be dragging over the trail like this. So I wish I miss the days we could get a base model stripped down $40,000 Rubicon. Realistically, the cheapest ones you're going to find on the lot are going to be 50 plus, right? I'd love it if they did like a, what would you call that? A Rubicon Sport. The base model, no frills, cloth everything Rubicon, and get it for 40K. I think that would be a huge seller, especially if we could get that with the Extreme Recon for 40K. That would be absolutely awesome. All right, everybody, so we're here with Ty, one of the legends of the Rubicon Trail. How many times do you think you've done this?
Oh, God, hundreds of times. About 35 years now. So
35 years. Now, listen, I think one of the things about the Rubicon Trail that a lot of people don't understand is that it's never always the same, right?
Changes constantly, year to year. Erosion, traffic, all sorts of factors play into it. Changes constantly.
Now, kind of walk me through how this trail works. Like, is there one main artery with offshoots? Like, how does the trail operate?
You know, we do have a few bypasses, but nothing to speak of. No, you drive the Rubicon Trail and you drive pretty much all of the trail in its entirety.
And walk me through like this year. You talked about things changing a little bit. How is it looking this year?
You know, the trail continues to evolve. It's actually pretty chewed up right now.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of larger horsepower vehicles, a lot of big tires on these vehicles these days. We're rolling big rocks in the trail, digging deep holes. The holes get deeper and the rocks get bigger.
So when you started this 35 years ago, what was like the average tire size you'd see out here?
Oh, 33-inch tire at best. Absolutely. Yeah. Even then, at that time, a 35-inch tire was unheard of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about now? Like, what are you typically seeing?
Oh, it's a little laughable if you have a 35. A common tire is absolutely a 37, and you know, I'd say a good portion of folks have a 40-inch tire.
What we've proven today is that in a land where we've got the most capable foreigner that the world's ever seen, we've got new entrants like Ineos into the world, we've got of course the Land Rovers, then we've got the heavy hitters like Bronco in the room, and all the trucks like the GMC and the GM ZR2 AT4X twins. I still think, bottom of my heart, that if you are looking for sheer off-road capability, can my vehicle climb the biggest rock possible, the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon is the most capable of all of the vehicles out there. I'm not saying it's going to be the best on the road. I'm not saying it's the best value, but if you're looking at just sheer out off-road capability straight out of the box, I think that this is unbeatable. And Ford's coming very close, right? And especially with the Bronco Raptor, in some ways they've exceeded it because that vehicle is 37s. But that vehicle is also just a little too wide, in my opinion, for some of this trail use. And it's much better at speed than this vehicle. And the normal Bronco has you know, bested the Wrangler in some ways too. It's much better on the road. They've got some really thought out features. But in terms of, can my vehicle climb that big ass rock? the answer is the Jeep will climb it where some of the others definitely won't. I'm putting down the gauntlet to other OEMs today. And the gauntlet is, if you have the faith that you claim to have in your stock vehicle, bring it out to the Rubicon Trail, right? Show the world that you can do what this Jeep can do, because so many press drives we go on, we're on really kind of mild terrain or custom made courses that just don't show off the true capability of a lot of these OEM vehicles. And I appreciate that Jeep does have the actual confidence to take their vehicle out to a trail like the Rubicon and show what it can do. I think that is a super cool thing that Jeep is allowing us to do, because I have no doubt that a Ford can do it. All right, my Ford PR contacts, let's see it, right? Jeep doesn't own the Rubicon Trail, and it's become kind of a new staple and benchmark in the off-road community for everybody. We know that your engineers are doing it. Let us do it. Of course, we could also just bring our own Bronco out here. That might be a solution to that question, and maybe we will. Maybe I'll convince my dad. You know, that Bronco's looking a little too shiny underneath. Let's see if we can change that a little bit. Put a couple more tattoos underneath the thing. Throughout the day, we've been following kind of a variety of new Jeeps, and currently we're following a 392, a white one, which is interesting, because why would Jeep bring a 392 out on a trail drive like this if it's been discontinued? Well, the Jeep people wouldn't tell me officially. There's nothing on the record. But I did get a little bit of a wink, and people love the 392 when I was talking to one of the managers here. And you know, if you read between the lines, Ram is putting the Hemi back into the 1500, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future we're not going to see the 392 back in the Wrangler. It just makes sense, right? I mean, that engine is so beloved, and they still make a variant of that for the 2500 trucks, the 6.4. So I think we're going to see the 392 return in the Jeep. Ideally, my dream Jeep would be a 5.7 Hemi, right? A $45,000 5.7 four-door Rubicon. Oh, it would be so good, and it would bring something that the Bronco doesn't have, which would be an affordable V8, and I really think people would resonate with that. That is 100% the Jeep that I want in my driveway. It would be a 6.4 is amazing, but it's so overkill. But the 5.7 in a four-door Wrangler, or God, even a two-door, that's the dream right there. Please, Jeep, make that happen. Tell me that wouldn't be badass. Well, everybody, I hope this gave you a taster as to what the Rubicon looks like. And yes, a stock Jeep Wrangler Rubicon can, in fact, do the Rubicon Trail. So a really cool video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.